Okay, this presentation supports the achievement standard, understanding strategic response to external factors by business that operating in a global context. So specifically, what we're looking at today is introduction to what multinationals are all about. So from this point of view, what we're looking at is from a multinational opportunities and threats. So understand what multinational is, explain how they operate in a global context, with the whole idea of globalization, and start to think about opportunities and threats for organizations as they become multinational organizations. So firstly, the multinational organizations, as the name suggests, are organizations that operate in a number of different nations. So they have an international focus. That might be centered on a particular continent or a particular geographic region, or it could just be spread all over the globe. So these are very much the famous, the well-known brands that we are all familiar with today, the high street names, those sort of companies that are reported on in the press. So when we're looking at these sort of things, when we sort of officially define it, what we tend to look at is an organisation that obtains more than a quarter of its revenue from operations outside of the UK. So Mastercard, Microsoft, Nike, Amazon, blah 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 blah. The list continues. So really, what is it about organisations that make them become multinational corporations? I guess a lot of it comes down to the whole idea of driven by competition. That if you're not doing it, then your competitors will be, and the whole idea would be to become a bigger organisation and more competitive against those people in your market. And in doing that, businesses very often seek to exploit situations in other parts of the globe which are going to work to their strengths. It could be certain parts of the globe which may accentuate their objectives or their values. But in looking at these other areas across the globe, it can help them to become more competitive. Not just for the fact that they're obtaining access to a bigger market, but it could be the trading conditions in that part of the world. It could be the exchange rates with that part of the world. There could be a number of particular benefits that they are there to exploit. Now, because of what's been going on in the world and globalization, effectively, it has led the traditional model of a business to align itself very much to the whole idea of operating across a number of different countries. And because of that, societies, laws, governments have had to adapt to understand that these organisations are not necessarily just trading in the domestic country, but they're now going to be trading across international barriers as well. And because of that, it's become easier to communicate because there's like a global system of communication, trade and trade alliances, free trade agreement across global or international borders has become much more easier. Financial systems have become aligned, and likewise governance systems as well. So a lot of governments that support this approach of multinational corporations will come from a very similar political, ideological background. And that being said, the way in which they facilitate the systems to help these multinational organizations tend to be the same. So effectively, the whole integrated system of all of these institutions in society have allowed trade, international trade, to flourish. So added to this, I mean, globalization is a massive, massive topic, and it's something that can be studied on its own. But essentially, it's the whole idea that there's a real interconnected nature across the globe now. Businesses there are there at the sharp edge of this, and with their involvement in international fields, all of a sudden now we've got businesses developing their perspective as a local organisation to a national and now an international perspective. Okay, so as mentioned before, we've now got this open up possibility of global trading, global governance, free trade. All of these things has allowed these globalized markets to be managed in a very pro-business way. And it can be much more effective. The flip side of it, and as I say, this is just a very brief mention of this whole topic, is exposure to these globalized markets can mean that the competition is incredibly fierce. And for some economies and some organizations, some multinationals, that exposure onto the world stage needs to be carefully planned out, because exposure to the high competition can lead to more problems. Going back to more fundamental things and thinking about those possibilities and those advantages of being a multinational corporation, you need to be familiar with is obviously, okay, first and foremost, you've got a desired market that you wish to be supplying. To become a multinational may increase your proximity, therefore may reduce your transport costs, etc., etc. A common one is the lower cost of production. So a lot of the reasons why organisations have branched out into countries such as India, Brazil, China, is because there is a lower cost of production there. To set up your organisation there is going to be more cheaper. Government incentives, so some governments may be offering tax breaks, that should be, grants to entice that magical foreign investment. And on top of that, countries may be willing to allow access to their resources. So access to local resources is also another real possible incentive for a multinational to set up. And then added to that one, you can also question the whole idea of lowering costs, because we no longer have import restrictions. So products will be made from within that domestic base, sold to the domestic market, but from an outside organisation. That, as well as the potential the tax benefits, is a lot of very important reasons why organisations may choose to become a multinational organisation.